Nice to
Hello,
see you guys.
nice edition of GG Sunday School. And I'm Darren, your moderator for tonight. So thank you for joining us, whether you're in Korea, Singapore, or just about anywhere in the world. We are really happy to have you here. So just for context, tonight is going to be about sharing stories about geography while also sprinkling some bits of festivities. So like some sort of like Christmas theme. So I just really hope that you guys can sit back, relax, and have a warm and meaningful session together. So a bit about the timeline for today. So from 7:50 to about 8 o'clock was about registration. And currently we have about 9 participants. So I hope that the others could stream in as we go along the session. And for 20 minutes later on, we'll have a short round of icebreakers. And from 8:20 to about 9:55, we have quite a bit of time for presentations and a Singapore special session. So that was specifically requested by some GG students. And also Prof. EJ has mentioned that she wanted a bit more time for Q&A for the Singapore students. So that's something that you guys can prepare for. So if any questions you want to ask about Singapore, just fire away. And for the last 5 minutes will be the post-session survey and also a group photo. So for the group photo, if you have any props that you guys want to use that's related to Christmas, you guys can just use it. So for myself, I'm probably going to employ my friend here. So he's like a Christmas alien for latest photo. And for the speakers today, we have a very amazing lineup of professionals and also students. So firstly, we have Saul, who is a Mexican American coming. He's residing in Korea, and also Vida, who is from Sierra Leone, who is also residing in Korea. And for Alice, who's Brazilian, Frank, who's a Filipino, Ilal from Syria, Miro from New Zealand, and Rama Natalia from Indonesia, and four students from Singapore, Cody, Fahmi, Faith, and Wai Ching, and Tamara, who is from the Balkan Peninsula but is currently residing in Taiwan, Aksu, who is from Azerbaijan, and Yaren from Turkey. Yeah. Okay, so moving on to the first round of icebreakers. So let's make GGS a global gathering of stories. And so the first part of this is going to be a Christmas in NYC video. And this features Prof. EJ from South Korea. So this is going to be about an 8 minutes video. And afterwards, we will be going around with a quick fire session. So you have two choices. So sorry, it's A and B, not A and A. So the first one is Christmas around the world, where you share one Christmas or winter tradition from your home country or just about a country you love. And the second option you can choose from is your happiest Christmas memory. So where did it happen? With whom did you spend it? And how did it unfold? So we can have about like 1 to 2 minutes per person, but really there's nothing beats something that is just very close and personal to you. So just don't worry about what you're gonna share. You just make it something that you really feel for. Okay, so moving on to the video. Oh shit, sorry, not this one. Yeah, this video.
Is there no sound on your video?
The sound is coming on later.
여러분 안녕하세요.
Yeah, here it is.
시는 지리학자 김희재입니다. 자, 오늘은요. 세계에서 가장 유명한 도시, 잠들지 않은 도시, 바로 뉴욕입니다.
I wish I could say that I'm an honest human being, that what you're really seeing is the truth. But times go and change. I really don't know what I'm feeling. The one thing I know is that I'm with you. I know that it's pain. Life it ain't so easy.
자, 오늘 이 따끈따끈한 뉴욕의 최신 소식을 알려주러 오신 분을 소개하겠습니다.
안녕하세요. This is Tiffany from New York City Tourism and Conventions.
자, 우리에게 이 뉴욕을 알려주기 위해서 지금 비행기 타고 오셨기 때문에 약간 한국말이 서투르셔서 저희가 영어로 진행하도록 하겠습니다. I love New York very much, so I'm very, very pleased to have you as my guest. Would you tell me about New York?
So New York City it's always an exciting destination. And I think that's one of the really most exciting things about the destination is that every time you come, there's always something new. It's an ever-changing place. And so even if you've been to New York 10 times, it's going to be different every time.
So would you tell me about any recent change?
New York City is the #1 or port of entry for international travelers who are coming to visit the US. And so we're excited to be that welcome point. And at JFK, there's been a number of improvements. One thing that people will notice is Terminal 1 is undergoing a $9 billion renovation, and that will open in 2026. But all across our airports, we have more than $20 billion in infrastructure improvements. So at any airport, if they come through JFK, Newark, or through LaGuardia, they're going to see a very enhanced experience.
Wow. And I heard there are many new attractions in New York. So what is new in New York?
Our new beach is Gansevoort Peninsula. So it's on the west side. If you're familiar with New York City, it's just on the Hudson River near the Meatpacking District. And so it's the first public beach that we've had in this area in Manhattan. And it's great because you have all those outdoor activities if you want to sunbathe, if you want to play a little bit of volleyball, but you're right in the middle of the city, which is really exciting. And so you have this combination of experience of being able to go to the beach, properly go to the beach, but then you're so nearby all of the arts and dining that you would normally expect to find in the Meatpacking District or near Tribeca or the West Village.
It's very sports friendly city.
It is a very sports friendly city. So we have, in addition to swimming, in addition to surfing, running is a huge activity for New Yorkers. And we obviously just welcomed the New York City Marathon, which is the world's largest marathon. And we're very proud to be able to say that. We have more than 50,000 runners from over 100 countries. And so for us, it's probably the most exciting day of the year for New Yorkers because it's just a giant party. And so even if you're not running in the marathon, you're cheering everybody on. And for us, it's a very big.
And I heard we can even climb this building, right?
You can climb some buildings, not all of them. You might get in a little bit of trouble. Yes, you have to be very selective about which buildings you would like to climb in New York City. But Hudson Yards, which is a new development on the west side, also near the Hudson River, has a really exciting experience called City Climb. So in addition to all the shopping and dining that you can do there, you can go up to the edge, which is the observation deck. And then for City Climb, you can actually climb all the way to the top, and then you lean and all the way up. It's quite a view. It's very much a thrill. It's very exciting.
Just the way it goes. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But you gotta go with the righteous.
Is there any good season to visit New York?
I say every season is a great season. It's always a good time to visit New York experience. So of course that's a wonderful time to visit. And our Thanksgiving is really wonderful also. This year is the 97th annual Thanksgiving Day Parade. So it's probably 97.
It's 100 years.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, that is also another big day in New York City. It's really everything and all the performances. It's a really lovely event.
Mr. Snowman, come home with me. I can make you a warm cup of peppermint tea.
And Christmas.
At Christmas. It's almost Christmas time. It's really one of the best times of the year. But it's really one of the most festive times to visit New York City. We actually get about 7 million people who come to New York City just between Christmas and New Year's alone.
Oh,
they want to see
a lot of visitors.
Yes, it's wonderful. You go and you see all of the windows at the different department stores, of course, shopping. Everybody's shopping. You're getting your holiday gifts, but there's so many things to do. And most people know Rockefeller Center, the tree. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful.
In a winter wonderland.
So the most famous event for New Year's Eve is obviously the Times Square ball drop. So we count down from 10 all the way down to midnight, and you see that giant, beautifully lit ball dropping down to announce the new year in Times Square. And so there's really nothing like it just to be inside the crowds and it's just so festive and people are so excited to celebrate and ring in the new year.
근데 뉴욕이 다 좋긴 좋은데, 그냥 갈 때마다 좀 비싸다는 생각. 그래서 아주 부담이 되거든요. 근데 싸게 즐길 수 있는 그런 시즌도 소개해 주시고, 또 행사도 알려주신다고 해서 제가 좀 여쭤보려고 합니다.
We have so many different programs that offer really, really great Restaurant Week, which is hundreds of restaurants at a really great price point, and you'll find that across all 5 boroughs. We have Broadway Week, which is 2-for-1 tickets.
Oh, really?
And yes,
1+1.
1+1.
Whoa.
So you take the whole family, and it's just half. And then we also have the same thing for Off Broadway Week. And then we also have Must See Week, which is the same 2-for-1 on cultural attractions, tours, and just arts and culture across the city as well. And then we also have Hotel Week as well. And so for this year, it's a newer program. And for this year, it is 24% off of your standard hotel rate. And we have about 150 different hotels. And those really happen in January and February. So I always like to say that that is the best time to get the best value when you're visiting New York City.
Let the dreams
오늘 저한테 새로운 뉴욕의 명소들과 또 즐길 수 있는 포인트 알려주셨습니다. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Very excited. Hope we see you in New York. See you in New York.
네.
Okay, thank you everyone. So that was just an overview of what Prof. EJ does and also how does GGS interact with geographers around the world. And Prof. EJ has told me that she has regularly appeared on KBS, which is Korea's public broadcasting station. And this is the equivalent to the BBC in the UK, where she interviews prominent figures from around the world and present programs that help the public read and understand global maps. Yeah, so that was just for you to understand, for me to understand as well what GGS does. Oh, sorry. Okay, so like moving on to the icebreakers, as we have said. So to recap, after the video, we are going to do a round of quick fire. So, firstly, you can choose either between Christmas around the world, where you state one Christmas or winter tradition from your home country, or the second choice is your happiest Christmas memory. Not to worry, I'll keep this slide here when you guys are presenting. So you are free to use your own photos if you want to. You can just kindly share your screen if you want to. You just let me know if you are going to do that. And since I'm the moderator, I'll be starting this with my own round. So for Singapore, this is like something that happens every year, basically. Yeah, okay, so that was a short TikTok video that I saw like a few nights ago. And I thought it was quite funny because it kind of shows in Singapore how you quickly go from Christmas on like 25th December, and then on 26th December, you go into Chinese New Year straight away. So it's like the kind of is like a very big disparity over there, right? So in Singapore, Christmas is a huge event. Like the entire shopping district is flooded with lights, and everybody's just going like all I want for Christmas is you and stuff like that. So it's a huge major event in Singapore. But then basically things become Chinese New Year. It becomes all about the God of Fortune like overnight. So this kind of reflects like the fluid identity of our country because it reflects how we Singaporeans always move very quickly and evolve very quickly. And this is not just about efficiency, like moving from one festival to another, but it also shows and how we celebrate each other's identities, right? Regardless of our own races and religion. So I would say that we are very proud that diversity is celebrated in our country and we find strength from it. So that is something that's unique about our multicultural society. Yeah, so that was for my part, and the next person can kindly take it away.
Hi, can I go?
Yeah.
So I'll talk a bit about Christmas in New Zealand. Hi, I'm Miro from New Zealand. So I live in Wellington, which is the capital city. And the thing about Christmas in New Zealand is since we're down south in the southern hemisphere, we have Christmas in the middle of summer. So we usually have our hottest days of the year around the Christmas period. So what you'll usually see is on Christmas, Kiwis or New Zealanders, we'll all go to the beach and we'll play a game of cricket. And sometimes it can be a bit disconcerting because culturally, Christmas is often perceived as like a winter event, with the
Yeah.
White Christmas, for example. But in New Zealand, we have 30-degree days and bright flowers in bloom and lovely weather. So we're very blessed to have that here. So, it's more of a social outdoorsy day here rather than indoors.
Right. Yeah. So the weather kind of makes a huge difference as to the vibe
Yeah.
you're getting. Nice.
I mean, I'm
Uh,
I'm sure it doesn't snow in Singapore either. Hey.
yeah, it doesn't. So we have to make like artificial snow to feel somewhat similar, but still very, very, very different.
Wow, that's so cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Miro. And we also have another New Zealander, Joshua, as well, right?
Hey Darian, yes, it's me, it's Josh. Kia ora everyone, and kia ora Miro. Yes, I was actually going to say the exact same thing as Miro was going to say. Here in New Zealand, it's very summer. So instead of having disrupted flights due to bad weather or being next to the fireplace over Christmas, unwrapping Christmas presents, we can find ourselves having a nice summer barbecue outside with family and friends at the beach. I'm based in Auckland and Wellington, so our biggest city and our capital city. And so it's very, very busy in the beaches. It's a very popular time to also go surfing. We have some fantastic beaches for surfing. So yeah, no, very, very similar to what Miro was saying around how we spend our summers in New Zealand. Thanks,
Nice.
Darian.
Thank you, Joshua. Yeah, who wants to go next?
Hi, Darren. I'm
Hi, Frank.
all right. So I'm Frank from Philippines, and uh, in our country, Christmas is in the Philippines is known as the longest and most festive celebration in the world. No, beginning at the early September. No, we celebrate. We play Christmas songs. And in public spaces and homes start decorating with paroles or the Christmas lanterns. And also, we also celebrate Christmas, beginning with the 9 days dawn masses, no, from the Catholic Church, since Philippines is a Christian country, and uh, during the Christmas Eve, we prepare food like queso de bola, if you know that, or the cheese ball, the lechon, and hamon or ham, yeah, as a symbol of our uh, Thanksgiving and for the celebration of Christmas. And also we exchange gifts, no, from our friends and families. And after Christmas, we set the uh, family reunion because Filipinos are very uh, family oriented. No? And lastly, uh, we also celebrate Christmas until the celebration of the uh, we call it Three Kings or the Three Magi's. All right. So that's for on our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. That was interesting to hear, and I really like the taste of lechon.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
can I ask a question, Frank?
Yeah, sure, Miro. Go ahead.
Is there any like special cultural food that you might eat at Christmas in the Philippines?
Sorry.
Is there any like special food you might eat in the Philippines at Christmas?
Yeah, we here in our province we have special alaya, no, or it's made from ube.
It's cool. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Can have another presenter.
Yes.
May I
Yes, please.
speak about the okay, so basically our people they celebrate almost all the holidays all around the world, including Christmas and the New Year's, but usually we give more attention to the New Year, even though a lot of people also celebrate Christmas. But usually,
Sorry, I think you're cutting off.
we, during the New Year's Eve,
Yeah.
all of the families they can. Let me just turn off my camera.
Yeah, it's better now.
Okay, so basically, in my country, we celebrate Christmas and the New Year's. But usually we give more attention to the New Year. So usually we just decorate the tree together and we have national traditional foods that we eat together with the family. And usually before 12 o'clock, before midnight, we go to the boulevard. It's like at the seaside and we see the fireworks and it looks amazing and beautiful. So I think this is what we usually do during Christmas and the New Year's. And we also have this holiday that's called Old New Year, and it's on the 13th of January. So basically, January and December, these are the 2 months where we celebrate almost every holiday that we have. So I think, yeah, that's it.
I see. So January and December is the kind of like a peak season for holidays.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice. Okay, can we have another presenter?
Yeah, I think I'll go if nobody else will go
Yes, thank you,
next.
Sal.
Hi everyone. My name is Sal. I'm currently in Korea and teaching English here. I'm originally from LA, so Christmas in LA, also warm weather because it's on the West Coast and it is a like a desert terrain, desert weather.
Yeah.
So it gets chilly, but it's not cold or don't really get snow. Uh, I grew up Mexican American in the Latino community in LA, and Christmas was always a mixture, a bicultural thing for me, American and being American and Mexican. So for us, the big thing was having tamales, tamales for Christmas, and basically a lot of the menu was Mexican. Um, a lot goes into food is just part of a big part of it. Just because people connect through food, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I have good memories of just both having barbecues outside and also having traditional Mexican food, like pozole, which is like a soup. And the tamales. Tamales are the corn cakes wrapped in the corn leaves, and usually have meat inside. So, but there's different varieties. But yeah, that's how I spent my Christmases.
Oh, that's very insightful. Thank you. And has everybody had dinner yet? Like, I'm kind of getting hungry from what Sal has shared. Okay, sorry. So, in the interest of time, I think we can have like just one more presenter before we move on to the presentations. How about Sujin? Yeah, you have a beautiful blue background over there.
Me?
Yeah.
Hi, I am
Hi.
from Korea. It's nervous. In the winter in Korea,
Yes.
so we hope a white Christmas. Uh, and it's not a traditional event in Korea, so we just enjoy. And nowadays we are buying Christmas cake. Yeah. Thank you.
That's very nice. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, so that will wrap up the icebreaker round. So I kind of hope that everyone has a better idea of how Christmas is celebrated around the world. And moving on to the presentations, the first one is by Saul. Yes. So can you just unmute yourself and
All right. Okay, so I guess I'll go first. Um, yeah, as I mentioned a little earlier, my hometown is LA and Mexican American. Um, um, I am currently based in Korea. Um, as I mentioned, teaching English. This is my second trip, second tour, I guess, second tour of Korea. The first time I was here as a U.S. soldier in my 20s. Um, and at that time, I finished my last year of my military duty was in Korea. So when I finished, I was wondering what to do. So one of my friends suggested about teaching English. So I did that back in 2002, from 2002. Um, and I went on to teach for about 12 years. And I taught at mostly taught elementary and middle school in the Chungnam area, which is the area surrounding Daejeon in the center of the country. Um, but I think I am a East Asian Studies major, so I was one of the reasons why I got stationed in Korea was because of my interest in the country. Um, but I would say that I what sparked my interest was um, back when I was in uh, high school, we had an event in my city called the LA riots. And in the LA riots, it was a situation where um, the city burned, a certain section of the city burned, and it came to find out that um, a lot of the residents that were affected were Korean. So um, it was a tragic event, but I got to learn a lot from it. And I think that's probably the beginning of my interest in Korea, and that's in Koreans and Korean culture. Um, and that's what led me to major in East Asian studies. But yeah, I was just trying to figure out more about the Korean culture because at the time they're a very quiet community. Um, they call them the model community because they usually did do well in school and don't bother anybody, pretty peaceful. But I think that event changed the community uh, to be more active in local politics and government policies. So anyhow, and so I went back to the States after teaching in Korea for about 12 years, and um, I lived in Arizona as well as Maryland, around the Washington D.C. area, and yeah, after a while, after COVID, I just decided I wanted to come back. So in 2023, I came back after COVID, and I've been here ever since. So I was introduced to this group by a friend, and so basically I just joined about a month or two ago, and looking forward to being more involved and sharing the whole story of how geography works and how geography, um, can also bring us together as well. So that's about it. And I'm open to questions in case you have any.
I've got a
thank
question.
Yeah.
Um, so as part of your undergraduate Asian studies, did you get to learn any languages?
Yes. It's one of the requirements to learn one East Asian language, which was for me was Korean. Yeah.
May I also ask a quick question? But when you went to Korea, did you have like to take an exam to be a teacher, or how's the process to become
Yeah,
there?
so back in the early 2000s, there was no requirement like that. You just had to have a bachelor's degree in any field. Um, they still don't have any kind of test. Um, the only thing they require is a bachelor's degree, and if you have a master's, even better. Um, there is um some places do require um some kind of certificate for teaching English as a second language, as a foreign language. So you can get that, and that also will help.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Sorry, just a question. So out of the East Asian countries that you could choose from, why specifically did you choose South Korea?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, growing up in LA, it's a very multicultural city. I mean, you basically got, you know, the whole world there. You got people from all over the world, and I think for me, what got the attention for me was that one event in 1992 when our city in Los Angeles uh, basically, burned down a certain section of the city. And as I said, many of the affected residents were Korean at the time. So because the Korean community was a quiet community, not causing very much trouble, and being a model community, known as being good students, that kind of caught my attention, and I think that's what got me started in Korean studies.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any other questions? Okay. Uh, if that's the case, we will be moving on to the second presenter. Thank you so much, Sal. It was a very insightful presentation. Okay. I think for now, Vida has not joined the Zoom chat yet and has not uploaded the slides. So we'll be moving on to the third presenter, and that's Alice from Brazil. So you can just cue me to move on to the next slide. Just say next or something like that.
Can you hear me? It's okay.
Yeah, loud and clear.
So I'm Alice from Brazil, and I made this presentation based on Darren's slide. So you can go to the next one. In this one, I talk a little about me and the place I live. And I'm a 17 years old teenager. And next year, I will be on my last year of high school. And I grew up in Rio de Janeiro. It's not the capital of Brazil, it's Brasilia, but I live nearby. And it's a city where we have a lot of nature around us. And I like this kind of mix because it makes me feel like I'm in nature and in the city at the same time. And I think this is the perfect mix because you can feel the adrenaline of being in the city, but also the calmness of being in nature. And the area I live, it's called Tijuca. This is my neighborhood, and Tijuca is near Maracanã. And the area, and it's closer to the central area of Rio that we call Centro. That is the center of the city, and it has a lot of old and charming buildings that remain from the colonial period. And living here near the central part of Rio and in Tijuca made me curious about how the cities can change and how we can keep the good things from the past and also the historic things that aren't too good. Mainly because Brazil had a period of slavery, very big period, but we have to remember the people who are victims of the colonial period always, because they are part of our history too, like the indigenous and African people who are both brought from Africa and from here too by the colonials. And I think that's important to remember their history too. And also being near Maracanã made me fall in love with soccer. I don't play soccer very well, but I really like it. And I'm a very fan of soccer, very. And you can see on the next slide that I put some pictures of Rio, and the big one is Maracanã. I went to my favorite soccer team game, and it was really fun because there was two German people in front of me, and they were like, "Why they are always screaming?" Because it's like a huge party, and we were shouting and saying bad words because we want our team to do well. So I was like their coach. They couldn't hear me, but I was like their coach, like, go there, go there, go there, you should play there. And it's very fun. I really like the energy of going to a soccer game in Brazil. And these pictures here are from hiking. I went with my friends from the scouts, and it's a very good view. You can see the Baja Beach. It's not as popular as Copacabana Beach, but it's also very good. I like to go surfing there with my friends and going to to just stay on the sand and keep chatting all day. Next one, please. My favorite case of study is to analyze the constructions of favelas in Brazil, the ghettos and hoods, and they involve the topic of social and spatial geography in the Brazilian urban environment. I like to talk more about geography, social geography than nature geography, but I will talk about my favorite topic. I know it's common for us to talk about nature topics, but social geography is my favorite one. And to analyze this problem, I will base my research on Milton Santos, that it's one of the greatest Brazilian geographers. And he's not from Rio, he's from Bahia, but he gave some classes in Rio. And I wasn't alive when he was giving classes, but it was my dream to go to one of them. And he said that the urban space, including favelas, is a banal space full of contradictions or verticalities that are basically impositions of dominant power structures and techniques, coexist with and conflict with horizontalities that are organic solidarities, local techniques, and community networks, like people who help them, who help the favela, people who live in favela. Next one, please. And to add more about this problem, we have Josué de Castro, that is also a very good Brazilian, and he had a similar view as Milton did. He saw the favelas as a symbol of hunger and social exclusion, resulting from an equal economic system that we all live, sadly. And for him, urban poverty was not a problem of lack of food, but rather of access and distribution, and hunger a direct consequence of inequality and flawed social planning. He argued that the modernization of the country, with all the necessary social and agrarian reforms, created the Brazilian rebel. Like an old president tried to do the agrarian reform, but he was people who didn't like him, like they tried to pull him off the power, but he tried to help the most poor people, but the powerful ones didn't like him. And with that creation of the Brazilian rebel, they had to push people to urban peripheries, like they had to go to the mountains because they weren't allowed to be where the powerful people were. And life in the mountains is precarious because they don't have because they are living in a dangerous situation, like it can have a landslide, and they won't have not any kind of security to ensure their living. Next one, please. And to compare Brazil and South Korea, I I gave an example, but I saw this yesterday and I will talk about it. And Brazil is a large it's one of the biggest countries in the world, and the urbanized country has a different technological landscape than Korea. While there are areas of technological development in innovation in Brazil, the overall level of digital infrastructure and integration across the country is not as advanced as in South Korea. And this difference can be observed in areas such as public transportation systems, digital government services, security systems, electronics, and street infrastructure. For example, you can go to the next one and I'll talk about the street infrastructure mainly. When I went to Seoul this year, not last year, this year, yeah, I was staying in a building where on the next street there was construction going on with a very large hole in the road. Like you couldn't walk on this road because it was like a big hole like this on the street. And I was very surprised that the next day the hole has already been filled and people were walking around there without any problem. And I was like, that wouldn't have this wouldn't have happened in Brazil because it takes more than a week to complete this kind of work. And not only because we have more old machines, it's not that. It's because it takes a long time. I don't know why, but sometimes I think the workers and the machines like they just doesn't know how to use it, so it takes longer because they want to do the manual work instead of using machines. Next one, please. And I would like to go to visit Korea again because it's a place that makes me feel happy. I feel happy to be able to travel to the other side of the world. I mean, one day of going through the plane, or one day, 24 hours in a plane, isn't very cool, but it's worth it if I go to a very cool place. And I feel very happy to travel and learn about the culture that I like so much, which is the Korean culture. And I think that if I went to Korea every year, I would never be able to visit and discover all the things the country has to offer because there is a lot of stuff. And in the two times I visited Seoul, there was a 1 year gap between my first visit and the second. I went in 2023 and 2025 this year. And it seems like everything there had changed. And I think that's very cool. And I think that's one of the reasons I like South Korea so much. And I limited myself to just visit Seoul, but I hope to visit the cities I studied in PSDG summer school projects like Iksan, Jeonju, Jonggu, Gunsan, or Jinan in the future. Next, please. And a suggestion of team I would like to see in the project its geopolitics and the relationships that the countries involved in our project have with each other. And participating in the GG summer school is rewarding and important for me because my professional goal is to be a diplomat, which is a highly valued profession in my country. And thanks to experiences like this, the project, I already know a little about each part of the world. That's it, I think.
Thank you, Alice.
Thank
It's
you.
very interesting to hear your analysis of Milton Santos. That's my first time hearing about his work. And I think your interest in geopolitics is very interesting because I think both South Korea and Brazil are middle powers. And Brazil is one of the key members of BRICS. So that would be a very interesting perspective that you could bring in the future. As that's for me. Yeah, so does
Yes,
anybody have
I
questions for Alice?
I've got a question. Yeah, so are there favelas in like every suburb of Rio de Janeiro, or are they like mainly concentrated in the poor areas? Because I was looking on Google Maps and I think I saw some of them in the rich areas.
I there are a lot of areas they are concentrated, but mainly in the peripheries, like in the mountains. They're mostly concentrated in that. But in some places that you don't have the mountains, like in other states, not only Rio, they have like favelas, like normal ghettos, like as you can see on American movies. We have similar ones, but the most popular format is the mountains because a long time ago, Rio was trying to be modernized by an old president. So all the poor people were basically removed from the center of the city and they were just sent to the peripheries because it wasn't an important place. That's it's called Pereira Passo Reforma Pereira Passos, and it was a sad move because people who worked in the center were thrown off to the other side of the city. And thanks to this sloppy move, a lot of people went to different places. And it wasn't cool, because they still worked on the center, but they had to live very far away while the powerful people remained on the center. And it's just another proof of inequality in Brazil, a very huge inequality. And
Okay,
that's it.
thank you.
That's it.
May I ask a question? Firstly, thank you so much, Alice. It was really interesting to listen to your presentation. I really liked it. Me, myself, I really want to visit Brazil as well because I have some friends from Brazil and I learned a lot of things. I even learned that there's exotic fruits that you can only find in Brazil, like cuipaço, right? And I tried it and I loved it so much. It was so interesting. So I really want to visit Brazil. And I have a question about like is it like do Rio de Janeiro's I heard that they're famous for their festivals, right?
You mean
And
carnival?
the carnivals. When is the best time to visit them and what you should do, like a heads up?
Oh, it like the carnival happens in February. It's like one of my favorite holidays because I don't have classes.
Lucky.
But
That's so nice.
I think the coolest part of carnival it's because it's very organized in a very cool way because you have like you have some groups that represent they choose a theme to talk about on the carnival and I mean like they can choose any kind of theme. Like we had most of the carnival presentations by these groups are based on the African religions called Candomblé,
Mm-hmm.
and they talk about African religion and their history since the colonial times, and it's a very interesting topic. And it's very cool. You can go to February in Rio and you can stay at my house. You all can stay at my
Thank
house
you so
because
much.
you will
Also,
have
please
fun.
come and visit
I will
Azerbaijan.
give food to everyone. So you can come to Brazil. I will have you in my house. And I will
Please
give
come
you
and visit
tips
Azerbaijan
and
as
places
well.
to go.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Do we have any final questions for Alice? Okay, if that's the case, we'll be moving on to Ethel from Syria. Oh, no, sorry, Frank first.
Hello.
Hi,
Is it
Frank.
audible? All right.
Yeah.
So, good evening, everyone, and to our Korean friends, Junyong and Yong Ayo. Thank you, Great Geographic Society, for this opportunity to share myself and some uh, details about my country. All right, next slide, please. All right. So I am Frank Eli Morales from Bataan, a peninsula province in the Philippines whose coastal landscapes, layered histories, and close-knit communities shape my worldview as a Filipino and as a cultural geographer and researcher. Next slide. Growing up in an environment defined by resilience, diversity, and shared identity allowed me to appreciate how place influence live experiences and social behavior and cultural meaning. Right, next slide, please. and what's in Bataan, Philippines, so in our place. So let's watch these videos, beginning with the first video. Darren, may I share my screen for this video?
Yes, I will let you share your screen.
Yeah, yeah. All right, thank you. So for a while. All right, do you see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm ready! Ano? Nakabook na ba tayo?
Wala nang siksik!
Oh!
Bakit di na lang tayo sa probinsya namin? Sa Bataan.
Kapag yung building suit ko hindi ko nagamit, lagot ka sa akin.
Relax ka lang.
Ano nga? Gusto na kasi magawa.
Hintayin ko pa kasi yung cashier ko. Pero don't worry, 1 oras lang daw nasa Bataan na ako.
Ah. Ah.
Yun! Yun tayo, tara!
I think the sound is not there.
Teka, ibalik ba?
It's
Ibalik mo.
loud and clear.
Parang...
Ganda nga.
Ayaw niyo pang pumunta rito ng una.
Babalik tayo, ha?
Babalik talaga tayo. Ano? Tara na?
Siguraduhin kung babalik tayo.
Madali!
Bataan!
A visit to Bataan spawns a tale of many journeys. One path leads to the sea, the sun, sand, and serenity, as time seems to stand still before your eyes. Follow the path further inland, and you find yourself winding through passages flanked by verdant forests that lead to refreshing sights, sounds, and experiences. Another path meanders to a not too distant past, when life lilted to the pace of a foreign culture and faith. Amid the birth pains of a nation breaking free from colonial domination, another track leads to a darker period, when vastly outnumbered soldiers and civilians valiantly stood their ground against impossible odds, making Bataan an enduring symbol of courage and sacrifice in the defense of freedom. This historic chapter is fittingly commemorated year after year by former combatants at Mount Samat, now a prime tourism enterprise zone, allowing new generations to appreciate the past while freeing them to pursue new paths in their Bataan journey. Many of these paths lead to familiar outdoor and indoor activities. Others open up to adventures young people crave for. Where they can unleash pent-up energy and embrace nature in all its splendor. Still other paths unravel surprising discoveries, born of Bataan's natural endowments and unique historical circumstances. Such refreshing elements, both transplanted and indigenous, account for the rich diversity of flavors and colors that make Bataan's culture and communities teem with vibrancy and life. In Bataan today, past symbols of freedom serve as gateways to a new face of the province as
Sorry
it
to interrupt,
embraces
Frank,
its
but
role as
in
the
the interest of time,
industrial
can we move on
workhorse
to
in
the
the
next part
Philippines'
of your
most dynamic
presentation?
growth corridor. What used to be a haven for Indo-Chinese refugees will soon be a technology hub for knowledge-based innovation. Already, the province's special economic zones are humming with activity, attracting investors, residents, and tourists at record rates. These provide visitors a glimpse into the evolution of Bataan as the bastion of a new level of freedom. But even as Bataan marches inexorably toward the future, it will continue to be a special place. One that carves one-of-a-kind journeys and memories out of nature and history.
Thank you, Frank. That's very interesting. Two videos, and I'll just continue sharing my screen.
All right, thank you, thank you. All right, so um, let's move on, no? So my interest in culture geography was sparked by observing how Filipino traditions, languages, and ways of life vary across regions yet remain anchored in shared values of family, bayanihan, or a solidarity and adaptability. So living in our country with over 7,000 islands teaches me that place shapes people, how they see themselves and how they relate to others and how they imagine the world. So as you can see the photos here, here's one of the our adventure in one of the attract tourist attractions in our province, located at Maribeles, Bataan. All right, next slide, please. All right, so my interest in culture, geography, and geography education deepen each time I encounter new environments. And experiencing Singapore with its multicultural atmosphere, spatial order, and innovative urban planning strengthen my understanding of Libec's space as a dynamic intersection of culture, movement, and identity. Next slide, please. Although I have not yet been to South Korea, it remains one of the countries that fascinate me the most. Through cultural texts from K-dramas to literature, music, and historical narratives, I have glimpsed how Koreans reinterpret their past and modernity and identity. And Korea's lived space, as represented through its culture, reveals a society that values innovation, tradition, and collective progress. And for the next slide, please. And what's the difference or the comparison of our country to Korea? So the Philippines and South Korea share histories marked by colonization, struggle, and rebuilding, yet they evolve along different sociocultural and economic paths. And the Philippines is diverse, multilingual, and archipelagic. Its identity shaped by multiple cultural layers and strong sense of community, while South Korea, more homogeneous in ethnicity but dynamic in modernization, blends rapid technological development with a deep respect for cultural continuity. And this contrast make Korea an especially rich case for cultural geographical reflection. So while the Philippines is defined by its fluidity, warmth, and communal resilience, South Korea highlights discipline, national unity, and innovation-driven growth.
Mm.
All right, and for the next slide. And for our future vision, I hope to visit South Korea not only to experience its landscapes and culture firsthand, but also to deepen my understanding of how space, identity, and social change intersect in Asian context. And Korea's approaches to education, heritage preservation, environmental planning, and cultural production offer valuable insights that can inform my research in geography education, cultural geography, and place-based learning. All right. And for, I think this is the last slide. Let's proceed. And that's all for today. Thank you and samita.
Thank you, Frank, for the very in-depth introduction to Bataan. I learned a lot in a short span of time.
All right.
And I think it was interesting to see like how you compared South Korea and the Philippines. And for Singapore, I think we all share like a history of colonization. So I think that was an interesting aspect that you brought
Yeah.
up for, at least for my case. Yeah, do we have any questions for Frank?
Yeah, I got one. I've got a question. Thank you, Frank. That presentation was awesome. Um, I didn't know so much about Bataan, but I was wondering about like the history of the Philippines, and I know there's like an island in Manila Harbor called Fort Drum. I was wondering, like, have you ever been to some of those islands? Because I heard they have like some amazing history as a part of Bataan.
All right. So what's your Mira? You're
Yeah,
asking. Are you referring to our to Bataan, right?
yeah.
All right. Bataan today is a blends tradition, no? Because of the modernization. But in terms of history, we were occupied by the Japanese, no? During the
Mm,
1945, the World War II, and then after that, the Vietnam War. That some Vietnamese came from our one of the town in Bataan, especially in located in Morong. So, uh, due to that, uh what happened from the past. Bataan is
Yeah.
now same as like a Singapore with some multicultural and
Wow.
yeah.
That's really cool. Okay, I didn't know that about like the cultural geography because you're a cultural geographer. So thank you.
Thank you, Mira.
Yeah.
May I ask another question? So I know that Philippines is located on the Ring of Fire, and as known, it's a tectonically active place. So you have a lot of earthquakes and tsunamis, probably. Do schools prepare their students? Do you have special classes that prepare the students to be ready for the natural disasters?
Thank you for the question, Exu. Yes, we have, we integrate in the curriculum. We offer the disaster risk reduction management class to our students and to prepare them for the different hazards that we can experience here in our country, especially the earthquakes, since we are located in the Pacific Ring of Fire, and uh, earthquakes are very observable here, no? And our students are equipped and prepared for that. No? They have a trainings, seminars, and sessions for doing such kind of preparation for disasters and hazards.
Okay, thank you. And a small quick question. I know that before, because we had some like common friends, I have some friends from Philippines.
All right.
Before, a lot of people would speak in Spanish. Is it still there, or are they totally switching to English right now, or you're still using Filipino?
We're still using Filipino, but Filipinos are, since multilingual, every provinces, every islands here in our country, they speak different dialects or different languages. The reason why we have a different um dialects or language, but most of us know here are we speak Filipino and English.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Aksu. Miro, you're raising your hand, Miro.
Yeah, actually had a second question because Axel brought up those natural disasters, and it made me think. I heard the Philippines gets a lot of tropical cyclones nowadays, and especially with climate change, that it's been increasing. So, like, how has the Filipino government been like factoring in disaster resiliency for like tropical cyclones and flooding and such things?
All right. I'm not sure if you really had the full details about that. But
Oh, really?
yeah, because if we will I will answer you with the perspective of political, no. Philippines are very vulnerable, no, especially in floods because of the tropical cyclones that we enter in our country, no. So in political perspective, the reason why we are vulnerable at the same time, not so prepared, no, because of the projects, no, the projects from our government are substandards and somehow they are not materializing, no. Uh,
No.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the reality. No,
Oh,
I will not sugarcoat what happening in our country. But there's a lot of Filipinos, no, especially the scientists, uh, those who are working in disaster preparedness are really working with the data that uh, Filipinos, no, are very adaptive and resilient. No, although sometimes it's abused, but uh, because of the situation, no, it it drags down for that.
yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you. I wasn't aware.
Yeah.
Do we have any final questions for Frank? Yeah, if not, we'll be moving on. I really wanted to ask you more questions because you have been to Singapore as well. So maybe we can leave that to another time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure. Darren. Thank you.
thank
Thank you so
you.
much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Frank. Moving on to Idal from Syria.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Idal from Syria. Next, please. I'm Idal from Syria, from Homs. I'm 27 years old. I study translation, and next week I will graduate as well. And I'm in my last year in the geography department at Damascus University also. But my specific field is human and economic geography. I lived in Damascus for many years, but now I live in Homs. It's a central province that connects all Syrian cities. The great history of Syria shaped my love for authenticity. Uh, Growing up during difficult times through war made our generation strong, patient, and able to overcome any challenge because we suffered from war for 14 years. This is our flag, our new flag. In the last year, on 8th December, it changed to this. It was in red and with two stars. Next, please. This is our map. We have four borders: Turkey in the north and in east, Iraq and Jordan in the west, Lebanon in the uh, I'm sorry, West Lebanon. I visited Lebanon in the last summer. It was so similar to Syria, not different a lot. This is my uh, this is my city, Homs, and this is Clock Homs. Next, please. Case studies from Syria. You know, we have new governments, so we have a lot of problems we suffer with. Despite many challenges, our new government has worked through cooperation between the government's organization and the community to make use of Syria's tragic location and rich natural resources to improve basic infrastructure and daily lives. Because we have a lot of problem in service, um, like water and electricity. So electricity is available for 2 hours only and went off or switched off for 4 hours in a day. Water is supplied only 3 days per week due to decreased water levels in recent years. So we store our water at home. Even with these difficulties, our government continue to manage resources wisely and distributed water more fairly between cities. Next, please. Comparison between Syria and South Korea. Uh, I will compare with migration, age structure, and birth rates. Migration and population movements in Korea relies on attracting migrants to fill labor gaps and support economic growth due to low birth rates. But in Syria has experienced large-scale internal and external displacement as a result of the conflict affecting population distribution and the workforce. Next, please. Age structure in Korea has a rapidly aging population. In Syria still has a young population with many children and youth. Birth rates and family policies in Korea very low birth rates offer strong support for families. Uh, Syria higher birth rates but limited family and social resources. Uh, Also in Syria, in the past, my grandfather has a middle a medal of honor from our government because he has a lot of children, 14 children, but now there is no nothing. Next, please. My future vision. There are many things that make you decide to visit South Korea, but I would like to travel there and see unusual geographical and astronomical phenomena. For example, the lava tubes in Jeju Island, I think, and the sharp mountains in Sirksan National Park. I hope that. My future career, I think it will be combine my studies in geography and translation with my experience in sports events, because I worked at sport office at National Federation of Syrian Students for 8 years. The things that worries me most in lives in lack of stability and safety. That's all. Next, please. Thanks for listening. In
Thank
Arabic
you.
شكرا لاستماعكم.
Uh, so thank you, Idol. So do we have any questions for her?
I would like to ask a question about Edal. Thanks for sharing your developmental journey for gaining Syria back. But I can recommend you to mention that Turkey's support for Turkey's support for Syria's development, because throughout the years Turkish government has sent out many of the soldiers in order to protect Syrian borders and other risk of harms caused by the former governments. Next time you present about Syria, it will be really appreciative for our
Yes, yes, we
government
have.
to, yeah. Thank you.
Yes, we have a good support from Turkey.
It's a fact, like when you talk about the gaining back power of Syria, it's really important to mention Turkey as well. So this is such an advice for you to just talk about it next time. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
May I ask a question, a quick question? So I know as the situation is not very nice and not good, how are the children, like how are they studying? How's the educational process going in there?
Oh, education, we have a lot of problems. So I'm in 27 years, so I didn't finish my studies because wars and every exam we will stop it suddenly and repack or return our exams in the months uh, or so so we have I don't know how
I
I
understand. Okay, I understand. For example, me myself, I'm volunteering right now, and in our program, we are doing like small classes for children, and I'm teaching English, so I help children with their English. So if there's like any children that I can help with or help them with English studies, please like let me know because I would love to help. And my family, we always we have some friends from Syria, and we also like have close connections. But if there are like any families that need help with like language skills, I can like do some online if the kids have the access. I would love to help somehow.
thank you for helping. We have a lack of education because a lot of childrens they're at home and they can't go to school. Um, Most of them, their families teaches them or online classes.
I can help with online classes, like with no problem. If there's some kids that are interested, please let me know so I can help them as well.
Thank you, and I will contact you.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Excuse me, can I ask a question, please? We'll take that as a yes. So I know that like with some of the issues that Syria faces, particularly with the internal stability and like I know when the civil war ended last year and Hayat Tahrir al-Sham won, or the Syrian portion of the country, that they formed a new government. I was wondering, Idal, in your opinion, do you think this new Syrian regime will be able to like restore the original territorial integrity of Syria? So, for example, do you think that an agreement with Turkey on the occupied lands by Turkey and Kurdistan will be worked out, or do you think that maybe the cat's out of the bag and those territories might be gone? In Israel, with the Golan Heights, I mean, I know about the occupation.
Oh, it's a great
Sorry.
question because
Yeah. Yeah.
it's so confused about it because uh, till now we have a conflict between people because uh, because their thoughts and it's it's our border. It's affect our life, and you can hear a lot of thoughts about war and current situation.
Yeah. So do you think that maybe with the new government, Syria might be heading towards a future that's a bit more safe?
I hope that, but now we
Yeah.
are not safe.
Okay. Thank you.
I also
Thank you.
wanted to ask a question. Um, thank you for sharing, Adal. Um, I wanted to ask if life was generally better now than it was under al-Assad, um, prior to the civil war. Um, what are the differences, and is it is it safe for um, foreigners to visit Syria? And then the last question is how do you how do you keep how do you keep hope up alive in there in that kind of situation that you're living in?
A lot of visitors visit Syria in this time. So many peoples uh, don't d- bothering any visitor out of Syria. But we are not safe. If you came to Syria, you can visit all cities because you are a foreign. So you don't you can visit Syria and uh,
Oh yeah, my last question was like how do you keep your how do you keep your spirits high, and how do you keep hope in a difficult situation there? What gives you hope?
praise to God to be we praise to God to be well in the next years and I wish to gathering with my all families because there a lot of them travel out to Syria in this time and in the past.
Can I say something about the situation that um where is he? Mira asked.
I didn't hear. Please.
Yes. So Mira has said that. Can you hear me? Yes. So he has
Yeah.
mentioned that the occupation of Turkish government and also the situation of Kurdistan. First things first, I would like to say that there's no such a thing as Kurdistan because like we have been minority of the groups who have been trying to advocate like let's have Kurdistan, let's have Kurdistan. We have been excluded from the society. When you come to Turkey, you get to understand the real reality. Even Kurdish people, actually Kurdish people, are against with the idea of such exclusion, such occupation, such this and such that. So I really wanted to mention back again. I know that you're from New Zealand. Maybe you could be just so far away from the what is actually happening in the current agenda and in the context of Turkey. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think that was a very
Kurdish people, Kurdish people, uh, they they refuse conflict or
Yeah, I
I
think you're being
think
quite inflammatory, but I'm going to choose not to respond to that because I think you can have your nationalist stupors, but this is a space for collaboration and not finger pointing and arguments. So thank you.
No, I didn't want to put any sort of argumentation. I just wanted to collaborate as well in order to clarify such narratives that being
Okay.
held in the international media. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
sorry everyone. So in the interest of time, we have to move on. And if there's any further discussions, maybe we can do it outside of this session. Yeah, so thank you though for all your active participation. Okay, and it now wishes us Merry Christmas. Yes, and let's move on to the next presentation by Miro.
Okay, well, right into it. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Miro, as I said before. Kia ora. Kia ora, salam, annyeonghaseyo, assalamu alaikum. So, I'm going to be talking about New Zealand's demographic crisis or the issue of where everybody is going. Um, so, next slide, please, and I'll introduce myself. So, yeah, greetings and salutations. My name is Miro Thomas Irison. I'm a fourth year high school student from Wellington, New Zealand. And we might be on the far side of the world, but shit, with the invention of the internet, we can sure find some stuff out. So I'm a scout, so that's how I came into the GGS. This is my scout hat, which I'm wearing today because I don't have a Christmas prop, so I'm going to wear my scout hat. Thank you. So I became interested in international relations in 2022 when I was 14, due to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. However, what like solidified this into a passion for me was when I went to the 25th World Scout Jamboree in South Korea at Seimengul. I saw that the power of multipolar youth dialogue can create peace and understanding between peoples because I got to meet some Russians and Ukrainians there, which I hadn't met before. Um, and at the same time, I kind of began to understand that the world order that we live in is kind of threatened by what's it called? Irrational actors. So, and I'm worried about nationalism and extremist sentiment, especially in the 2020s in the social media age. I really like world history, so I'm really interested in the history of the Middle East and Asia. So I'm just going to flash through some of the books I've got here. I've got A History of India here, um, Judgment at Tokyo, which is about the war crimes trial of Japanese leaders following the persecution of Asians in World War II. Breakaway, the story of the Filipino Revolution, uh, the genocide in East Timor, History of the Russian Revolution by Trotsky, which is pretty banned in some countries. You can read it here. Ukraine, The Forging of a Nation. This is one of my favorites. And this is the one to cap it off. I've got Korea. So this is the one I'm reading at the moment. Um, So, and what I do when I interact with geography in my day-to-day life, as a consequence of New Zealand's geography, where we're, in the corner of the world, or the antipode, which means the opposite point, or the opposite point from Europe, uh, means our landscapes are pretty pristine. So, as a consequence of that, I interact with the physical geography on a daily basis. And so I do pastimes such as fishing, rock climbing, tramping, beekeeping, conservationism, and sailing. Some of the outdoor stuff I do, where I also get to learn about the geography of my country. I have experience in geography and geography adjacent subjects from stuff like the GG Summer School, Scouting, Model UN, Olympiad Geography, where I represented New Zealand and placed silver, uh, and democratic engagement and the economic policy programs from the New Zealand Parliament, which I participated in. They created a strong desire in me to continue to learn about the world because I want to work to aid the international rules-based order, which we've seen is starting to falter in its reactions to international crises. So that's my motivation. Next slide, please, and I'll have some photos. So I've got 4 photos here. These are all taken in the last couple of months. So I met the chief of the United Nations Security Council, Colin Keating, who supervised the Rwandan genocide. He was an extremely interesting man, and he made me continue wanting to learn about geography. Um, at the end of each school year, towards Christmas, so our school year ends in December, it's a traditional Kiwi pastime to burn our homework. So that's what I'm doing in that photo. And then I do beekeeping and I like fishing, and that's my largest ever fish. It's a gemfish, if you're wondering. Uh, and another Kiwi thing, I've just got some Marmite here, which is like a classic Kiwi dish. It's like a fermented hops, and it's extremely sour and salty. So I can't eat it straight, but if you're ever wondering what like the classic Kiwi dish is, it's that. So you should buy some Marmite. And now I'll go into my presentation. So if you'd go next slide, please, Darren. Sorry, am I talking a bit fast? Uh, so
No,
I'll just,
you're good.
okay,
You're good.
okay, thank you. Thanks. Sorry, it's almost 2 a.m. here, so I'm just a bit. So I'll talk about the case study. So in New Zealand, we have a demographic crisis on the horizon, but it's been manifesting for a while. So like many developed nations, we have an aging population, but the problem in recent years has become worse because many New Zealanders have been immigrating to Australia because there's better opportunity and higher wages for New Zealand jobs. So it's become a real issue that skilled workers now have to compete with Australian jobs. And also, I've included some Korean translations for our Korean friends. So New Zealand and Australia have very close relations. In fact, New Zealand almost became a state of Australia at one point. And we have something called the Anzac Spirit, which came out of World War One. So we have very close economic ties. Uh, However, Australia is a larger country than New Zealand. So as in most bipolar relationships that go just two ways, uh, they have more weight, they have more power in the relationship, so they've disproportionately profited compared to New Zealand. 78,000 Kiwis or New Zealanders have immigrated to Australia in the last year to pursue better opportunity, and this has really started to affect New Zealand's growth. So we've actually had a recession. Um, yeah. Next slide, please. And when I was researching this demographic crisis, I came across something interesting, uh, which was, well, I was aware of it, but the Korean demographic crisis that they're currently undergoing. And I mean, it sounds similar to, Idal, what you were experiencing in Syria with the aging population. So both New Zealand and Korea face aging populations. Politically, we're both engaged with the global West, so we both follow the international rules-based order, rules, uh, whatever those might be. The Republic of Korea's economic dependency on high-level manufacturing, so where they have a lot of high-tech jobs, mean they have quite a high-pressure work culture, like I've heard about the 996. But New Zealand, we have quite a low population. We only have 5 million people here. So we have a bit more of a laid-back society, and maybe partly due to our, Protestant Christian values, whatever those might be. But I think it's interesting how even though we kind of both have different attitudes to work, we're both facing the same problem. So, looking to fix the problem of all the population decline or the demographic crisis, uh, both countries are looking at immigration to support the aging population in the workforce, where obviously older people are less able to work and that's less money coming into the country. So, Korea has a high-tech focus, and because you have more population and more income, GDP, you're able to invest into more innovative technologies like robots and AI to help streamline work processes, so less manpower is required. But in New Zealand, we comparatively we have less of an economic advantage, so we've had to look at stuff like immigration from other countries to replace some of the workers who have been leaving. But hopefully, I hope that like New Zealand and Korea, we can have some automation to our economy as in the future to make it more of a clean economy. So New Zealand and the ROK, we're politically aligned countries facing similar looking issues in the future, but Korea has far greater resources to innovate new solutions to the demographic crisis. It's just a summary. You know, and we need like a solution right now because we're facing a very big recession and it could just become a self-fulfilling prophecy. It could just get worse. So that's what I'd like to share. Next slide, please. Thanks, Darren. So thinking about the vision for the future of the problem, I might not have read the question correctly, but that's okay. I hope that both New Zealand and the ROC can find a solution to stem our demographic crises. New Zealand is uniquely poised to take advantage of the global green energy transition, that is to say, the electrification of combustion engines that we've seen has much geopolitical weight, with China controlling most of the manufacturing capacity for that. And we have many rare earth metal deposits, which have been like a big political topic recently, as they can be extracted to make money and to hopefully put some money into our economy, but they could destroy our pristine landscapes that I previously mentioned. So, but as time presses on, we have to start making radical changes, all of us. And so for New Zealand, there will be a very big change I think, in the way that we position ourselves globally. And personally, looking to my future, I want to pursue Asian studies at university because, I mean, Asia is the largest continent and has the most population, so therefore the most opportunity. So for me, that's the thing. And I came up with this proverb where I want to talk, I want to say if the cause is geography of our problems, then the solution has to come from our geography. So I think in some ways, if New Zealand looks deep inside, we might be able to find a way to fix our problems, and that could be mining. Although that's a political debate I won't have with the other Kiwi in the chat. Next slide, please. Oh, okay, so that's it. So thank you, everyone. Oh, and if you have questions, yeah.
Okay, so hi everyone. Just in the interest of time, can we keep the Q&A section to just one question for now? And while we are doing so, can we all remind ourselves to keep this environment respectful for each other? And if any other questions, you can just direct message the other person that is in question. Okay, thank you. And let's proceed with that question.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
So hi Myro, I have a question about basically we always read in the global news that the Maoris face inequalities and human rights violations sometimes. Therefore, I wanted to learn, what do you think about that? Because why you think significant inequalities for Maoris persist in New Zealand despite government's policies and initiatives aimed at addressing, because there are some just health, education, climate change, confiscation, cultural suppression. Do you agree with those? Because I would love to hear your thoughts. And also, like in November 2025, a prominent Maori leader filed a complaint with the United Nations of Committees on the elimination of racial discrimination, accusing the government of systematic discrimination and treaty breach in its recent policy rollbacks. So the fact that the complaint is accepted for review means, at least internationally, that New Zealand's treatment of Maori is formally being scrutinized. This reflects inability or failure to ensure equality under current domestic government policy. I would appreciate if you can share your views with us. Thanks.
Yeah, so that's a great question. Thank you. That's probably the crux of the New Zealand situation right now. So that's probably the best question you could have asked. Um, so, and I will correct your pronunciation. It's Maori, but that's okay because you wouldn't have a way to find that out, as there aren't very many of them, sadly. So, thinking about the history of New Zealand, we have a colonial history where the British Empire came in, and I believe it may have been the 1700s, early 1800s, and they essentially tried to kill as many Maori as possible. So I believe there were almost a million Maori here around that time, or those numbers could be off, but I know the numbers reduced down to about 40,000 over about 20 years. So as we saw the genocide, New Zealand society became set up to prioritize the white settlers over the Maori, which is a story that we've seen across the globe. Uh, for example, in North America. But as we came into the 20th century, there became a bit of a Maori revival. So we had these movements called the apologies, the term is escaping me, but we had movements uh, to revive the Maori culture and to create unity in the Maori population of New Zealand to going forward, and so political unity, so that we could bargain with the government. Or I'm not Maori, but my name is Maori, so that's why I said we. So looking in the 21st century, we have a political group called Te Pāti Māori, which is Māori for the Māori Party. And so currently they're in the opposition in our government, and they've campaigned fiercely for Māori rights. But currently the government is a centre-right coalition. So we have one large centre-right party, and then we have one white nationalist party, and another party who I won't go into much detail on, but they're essentially ultra neoliberals. And they're looking at government austerity. So when they're looking to cut government programs uh, to save money for the government, the first things on the chopping block are Māori programs and programs that benefit Māori because they see them as not valuable to New Zealand society. So again, there's that colonial mindset that the stuff that's only benefits the Māori, which by the way is there because they were persecuted for 200 years, is not valuable to New Zealand society just because it doesn't benefit the white New Zealanders. I think that's a real that's the source of the issue. And the government has uh, they've been using this rhetoric talking about Maori, and so they're referring to these policies. They like to call it an issue of equality. So they like to say, well, we're not persecuting Maori, we're just ensuring that all people of New Zealand are equal. Well, that's all well, but over the last 30 years, we've developed pretty much two systems, and we found one that works for Maori and one that works for white people or Pākehā. Uh, and as the government tries to bring them back together back into one that we've seen systematically persecutes Maori, there's been fierce resistance to that, and I believe there was an appeal to the United Nations over that persecution in the name of equality. Well, I think that's just something they say to make it sound more appealing to the Facebook voters. But New Zealand politics is a whole dilemma that I won't get into this session, but thank you for your question. So essentially, it's one of white nationalism, persecution, and entrenched racism in New Zealand society. Thanks.
Thanks for answering.
Yeah, thank you so much for the wonderful question and presentation. So can we have Natalie from Indonesia next? And just for your information, so after Natalie will be the Singapore special session, and after which we will be cutting, we'll be rescheduling the next three presentations, which is from Tamara, Aksu, and Yaren in the interest of time. So these three presentations will take place either in January or February 2026. Yeah, so without further ado, can we have Natalie?
All right. Thank you. Hello, good evening from Jakarta, Indonesia. My name is Natalie. It is an honor to be here. Before I start, just a quick note. I am currently logging with using my department official account, so my display name appears as Geography UI. So today I'll be taking you through a spatial analysis of the geographical crisis in my megacity under the title Spatially Unpacking Jakarta's Triple Threat, Heat, Water, and Sinking Earth. Next slide, please. All right. To introduce myself, I am a research assistant at Department of Geography, Universitas Indonesia. Our institution is uniquely positioned at the heart of the world's largest archipelago, which give us a frontline exposure to critical global issues from volcanic hazard to megacity crisis. I live in Jakarta, the dense crisis-prone megacity, and work in Depok. My research focuses on combining urban planning principles with urban climatology using analysis and using GIS remote sensing as my toolbox to find precise data-driven solution for the challenges I see every day. So next slide, please. Okay. Now let's talk about Jakarta's triple threat. Before I begin, I should note that the following case studies on Jakarta in Indonesia are based on the recent news and current reports of ongoing geographical crisis. So the first threat is the sinking earth. This is a massive crisis of physical geography due to unsustainable groundwater use. A large section of North Jakarta's coast now sit below sea level. This makes the city inherently vulnerable to flooding and requires immense investment in spatial planning and infrastructure. And the second threat is heat and water. Jakarta is a massive urban island. The city simply cannot breathe, and the heat risk is compounded by the lack of green infrastructure and surfaces that prevent rainwater from soaking into the ground. Finally, to put this in a national context, Indonesia, the recent catastrophic flash flood in Sumatra. While these are hydrological events, the devastating impact is magnified by massive deforestation in the upstream areas. This clearly demonstrates that poor land use policy is a geographical time bomb in Indonesia, connecting our local challenges to wide national policies failures. So next slide, please. Geographically, we share a fundamental identity with South Korea. We are both a maritime nation with critical coastal megacities. The contrast is in cultural geography and urbanization. Indonesia's challenge is managing massive young sprawling growth, while Korea is dealing with an aging population and focusing on compact urban design. Both countries share persistent challenges in youth employment. The leads to key learning for Indonesia. We must shift from a reactive approach to proactive, systematic planning. We can learn from proven Korean innovations like smart water management, soil flood control policies, urban climate sensors, and urban climate sensors network, blue-green infrastructure to adopt preventive models that stops crisis before they start. Next slide, please. So, to conclude, my vision in the GG Club is dual. Academically, I want to study Korea's proven coastal adaptation strategies like smart cities policy and planning, also blue and green infrastructure, which are directly relevant to the Jakarta sinking problem. And of course, I want to explore Korean cultural geography firsthand, which includes trying authentic tteokbokki from a food truck, a great way to observe public space dynamics. For future Sunday school teams, I'll be fascinated to hear more about regional geopolitics in East Asia and cultural geography. So that's from me. Thank you for your time. I look forward to contributing to the GG Club. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Natalie. Actually, that's very nostalgic because actually Joshua and I were in Jakarta in September. And just a quick one, do we have one question for Natalie? Otherwise, we'll move on. Okay, I assume there's no questions. And in that case, we'll move on to the final presentation for today. Thank you, Natalie.
Sure.
And we have a string of 4 presenters from Singapore, and this would be the Singapore special session since it was specifically requested. And if you have any questions to ask our Singapore students later on, you can do so. Without further ado, can the first presenter come forward?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you so much. Hi, my name is Fahmi. I'm from the Singapore team. Along with me is also Cody, Wai Cheng and Faith. So basically, Darren is also together with us in the Singapore team, but he's the moderator. And yeah, without further ado, welcome to the Singapore section. Next slide, please. So here's the menu for today. I'll be talking about the introduction, and then we'll be talking about living in Singapore, green city vision, environment, and cultural geography. All right, next. Right, to begin the introduction, usually people would often ask, where is Singapore? Or eventually, what is Singapore? So next would be yeah, so basically Singapore, to sum it up, is actually uh, a maritime port. So basically it's a Southeast Asian city-state at the crossroads of major shipping routes. So that's where we get most of our successes. Most of our economy is based on maritime trading because we are geographically and also um, geographically fit at a very important trading route. And so Singapore is actually a tiny island in Southeast Asia at just 735 kilometers square. So to put into comparison with Korea, it's basically half of Seoul, and it's slightly larger than Jeju City, right? Yeah, beautiful. So Lee Kuan Yew is also someone known in Singapore, right? Next slide. So basically, lack of land space actually makes Singapore one of the most dense cities in the world at just 12,000 people per 1 kilometer square. And here's some fun facts. Singapore actually sits only 1.3 degrees north of the equator, so you would experience tropical heat throughout the year. So there's no such thing as all 4 seasons. It's just literally summer all year long. And Singapore is also among the world's top 10 busiest spots due to its geographical location. And 50% of our population lives just below 10 kilometers from the central business districts. So basically, in Singapore, if you want to go into some of our finances, the finance economy is also one of Singapore's strong points, and a lot of Singaporeans actually do work in the finance sector. That's why a lot of our estates are just 5 to 10 minutes away from the central business districts. All right, and next for Cody.
Okay, thanks, Fahmi. Can you all hear me? Yes?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, next one. So public transport is actually our main mode of getting around in Singapore since it's such a small country. And owning a car is very expensive because the government wants to limit the number of cars on the road because our small size will just lead to a lot of traffic congestion. So this is actually a photo of our projected completed MRT system, our mass transport system for trains. So it's very well connected and it's not done yet, but maybe in the next, 10, 20 years, it'll be completed. Next. So around 80% of our population live in public housing, which is provided by the Housing and Development Board, HDB. So the photo on the left is a photo of all our different towns. So we have 24 towns highlighted in yellow and 3 estates. So each town follows these guiding principles. So they are supposed to be self-sufficient, meaning that, if you are a resident in, let's say, like Jurong East, you wouldn't have to move outside of your of Jurong East to find like everything you need. For example, I live 10 minutes away from the hospital, the shopping mall, and my school is just, across the street. So each town is designed like this. And then next, connectivity. So, in the previous slide, we showed that our mass transport system is so comprehensive, and the government actually aims to have, most households live within 10 minutes from the trains. And third is spatial variety. So the way that our towns are being, you know, designed physically is in a sort of checker box or like chessboard method. So what that means is that tall buildings and short structures are spaced in a way whereby there's a lot of airflow, and then the space is very, it doesn't feel like you're trapped in a cage, basically. So it's like for the well-being of the citizens. And you can actually feel that, oh, there's actually very open space, very cooling, especially in a hot city like Singapore. So fourth is multiracialism. So each HDB flat actually has a quota of different races living in it that they have to hit. So this is called the EIP. And this is basically to manage our multiracialism and ensure that no enclaves are formed of any particular race. Next. Okay, so like I mentioned, there are 24 towns and 3 estates. And what's interesting is that each town has a different unique selling point. So what is shown on the screen now is our newest town, which is Tengah. So there are many different, planning principles and themes and concepts that surround each town that, draws from the history of the town and also what it can provide to the city. So for Tengah, it's a very green space. And if I'm not wrong, they plan to make it a very car-free space, maybe the first car-free town in Singapore. So if you're interested to find out more, you can go to the link in the bottom. Yeah. So next. Okay, so I think Fahmi mentioned our CBD just now a little bit. So yeah, Singapore is our central consists of this shopping district called Orchard Road, and then on the right of the screen is our skyline, and it shows the CBD as well as a part of Marina Bay, like the waterfront area. So this is actually where, what we would consider our central area. And personally, I really like to walk around Singapore, like as a hobby. So that's actually a screenshot of I think my most recent walk around the CBD specifically. And as you can see, it only took me 1 hour to walk 6 kilometers from Orchard Road to our waterfront. So Singapore is really small, but also very walkable. Next. Okay, so does anyone know how many nature areas are in Singapore? Maybe like just shout out because we are known as a concrete jungle, right? Anybody, any number? 6, 7, anyone? No? Okay. Well, we
Oh,
have, oh,
10.
yes, 10?
10.
Okay, thank you. Good guess. But it's actually 24. Yes. Wow, such a small country, but we have 24 nature areas. Yeah, so this is a map of all our nature areas as well as our 4 nature reserves. So Singapore is, I would say Garden City is kind of outdated. So now we are called City in a Garden, if I'm not wrong. Wai Cheng will talk about it later. So yeah, that's a photo on the right of our walkways and our overhead bridges, the very iconic ones with the pink flowers. So yes, we try to integrate our concrete jungle as well as our city in a garden. Next. Yes, back to you, actually.
Yes, thank you, Cody. So now we're talking about the concept of garden city, which Cody actually got the name pretty close. We call it the city in nature approach right now. So I'll just talk about the old version that we had, which is called the garden city. And this began when Singapore gained its independence in 1965. And what it mainly meant is that we would want to build many parks and green spaces in the country. And at the same time, we want to plant many trees and make it as green as possible. So on the left is a picture of how one of our most popular parks called East Coast Park looked like in the 1970s. This was its very early planning and conceptualization phase. And then on the right-hand side will be a picture of how our highways and expressways actually look like right now. We try to make sure that all our roads are always accompanied by lots of greenery and lots of flowers. Now, even though we don't have we don't have seasons in Singapore, during the springtime, which is usually about, January to March, we do still have flowers blooming along our roads, and it's a really beautiful sight to see. So this concept of garden city that was started back in the 1960s was actually to build the identity of what Singapore meant. As a very new nation, we needed something to stand out from the other nations around our region as well as in the world. So it played a very important role in our identity building. Now, on the next slide, we will talk about the evolution from that old version to the current new one called City in Nature. And they might seem like really similar concepts, but actually there are slight differences. So last time it is about trying to make as many green spaces as possible in Singapore. But right now it is about integrating natural components within our man-made infrastructure. And one way we do this is via green engineering. So you will see several pictures of really green infrastructure. We have the Jewel Changi Airport and Gardens by the Bay. You might have heard of it or you might have visited them in person before. If you have the chance to come to Singapore, we would strongly recommend you guys to come visit these places. Yeah. So besides these tourist spots, we have more we have other examples of green spaces that are located nearer to our residential areas. One example is the Bishan Ang Mo Kio Park, which underwent a renovation recently, and it became like a very aesthetic and very functional green space. Why functional is because Singapore, us being at the equator, our climate is just hot and really wet. We receive lots of rain all throughout the entire year. So we need a way to manage the flood waters when there is very, very heavy rain. And this park does that. On the right-hand side, the Park Royal Collection Pickering, this building is actually a hotel. And it's an example of how strict regulations in Singapore has ensured that new buildings, when they are constructed, they must have an extent of greenery in their infrastructure. And on the other hand, the other way that supports this city in nature approach is the Park Connector Network that really emphasize on accessibility and encourages walkability within different nature reserves and different parks. So why the city in nature approach? On the next slide, I will just give you two very short reasons. So firstly, Singapore is a really tiny island, and actually we don't really have lots of natural resources. We pretty much don't have actually. So we have to really take advantage of all the resources that we do get. So one way is to conserve water resources, and how we do this is to really tap onto our water catchment basins to ensure that we can collect sufficient quantity and good quality of water that will help us to, maintain good usage of our water resources. On the other hand, another reason why the government or Singapore in general strongly supports this city in nature is because we want to enhance the livability of our space. So one good case study would be the Jurong Lake District, which is on the western end of Singapore. It is an idea as of now. Construction works are in progress, but what they're trying to do is to create like a 10-minute town, 20-minute city to really ensure that residents that stay at this area would have access to recreational areas, the residential areas, as well as a conducive business environment, all within 20 minutes. And this, if I'm not wrong, it'll be completed in 2028. And I think many Singaporeans are actually looking forward to seeing this come to life. Now, if I were to compare a bit of Singapore and South Korea, I would think that a similarity is that both Korea and Singapore have lots of nature areas, lots of gardens and parks. On the left, we have this lake at the Bidadari Park. I took this photo, by the way. And if you see, this park is actually located right beside our HDB flats, the residential areas where most Singaporeans live in. But on the other hand, I think Korea, we can say that some of their nature areas, their green spaces, are usually centered around their large bodies. So for instance, the Eunbongsan is located near the Hangang, the Han River. And on the other hand, the Seokchang Lake is a really popular place for people to visit. And it is a really pretty garden during the springtime as well. On the other hand, one other difference I would say between the two countries is how mountainous the country is. For Singapore, our small size means that our highest peak is also pretty short. It's at 164 meters above sea level. But on the other hand, South Korea's highest point is at Halasan, which is on their Jeju Island, and which is about 10 times more than Singapore's height. And I guess this is pretty impressive. Yeah. But let's look at other areas of our environmental geography. Back to you, Faith.
Yep, so I'll be talking about other environmental challenges that Singapore faces. So next slide. One of the biggest problems we face is the heat. We are a tropical nation near the equator, and so it's summer all year round. And so we experience a lot of heat, but in particular, we struggle with urban heat island effect, which is caused by a lot of the man-made infrastructure that we have in uh, our country, which actually absorbs a lot of heat in the day and then releases it at night. So this is a heat map of Singapore, and what you notice is that all of the red, orange, and yellow areas are where buildings are at, while the blue areas are usually nature areas. Next. So Singapore adopts a few strategies, but I'll just mention two of them, the more probably exciting ones. So the first one is that our buildings, and this is particularly our public housing, have been planned to be repainted with cool paint. And so this paint will help to reduce the heat that's absorbed by the buildings and also reduces the need for energy-intensive cooling methods like using the AC. And so many towns will be implementing this, and they aim to finish painting all these buildings by 2030. And secondly, as briefly mentioned before, Singapore's architecture combines a lot of greenery into spaces and buildings themselves. So it is aesthetically pleasing as well, but what is more important is that it helps to improve our air quality and reduce the temperature indoors. It is typical to see buildings like the one you see in the center decorated with with greenery. But what's also common now is that in our public housing estates, you see a lot more green areas. Even in older housing estates, you'll see that they have been refurbishing certain areas to be used as green spaces as well. Next. The second major problem that Singapore faces is our water supply. As mentioned before, we actually have no natural or barely any natural sources of drinkable water. And so because of this, in Singapore, we rely on this strategy, which we call the four national taps, which namely is water from the local catchments, imported water, new water, and desalinated water. Next. So as mentioned before, we get water from the rain. So this is getting them from the local water catchments. And we have essentially built rivers or drains to help us collect this rainwater. And now 2/3 of our land is able to collect this rainwater to be made into or to be filtered into drinkable water. These areas are also repurposed as green areas and parks. The second method, which is probably quite unique to Singapore, is that we import a lot of our water. So historically, Singapore has always relied on importing water from Malaysia, which is our neighbor upstairs. But we have been working on other methods as well because of the potential of not getting this water anymore due to geopolitical tensions. Next. The third method is what we call new water, which is essentially a system that collects wastewater and filters it into drinkable water. And this is probably quite unique to Singapore as well, and it currently makes up 40% of our water needs. The fourth method, as Singapore is surrounded by the sea, we also treat seawater, and it's called desalination, and it's pretty pricey, but we have no choice but to do it. It currently supplies about 10 to 20% of our country's water needs. So with these four methods, Singapore's water is actually currently probably one of the most safest to drink in the world. Yeah. The third challenge that I'm going to talk about is the sea. Singapore being an island nation, we are very vulnerable as well to rising sea levels, and it is one of our probably most serious long-term environmental challenges. About 20% of Singapore lies less than 5 meters above the sea level, which these areas in particular are actually our ports, our airports, coastal residential areas, and these are all very much at risk of flooding. So to address this, Singapore has invested heavily in coastal protection and flooding prevention measures. Next. Because of land constraints as well, Singapore actually invests quite heavily into land reclamation. So if you see the map there, the red area is basically what was Singapore's land back in the 60s, and everything else there is what's new. So Singapore's reclaimed land currently makes up about 20% of our land. And you will see that a lot of our iconic infrastructure is actually built on this reclaimed land. Next. So our port, which is actually the world's largest fully automated container terminal, is built on this reclaimed land, as well as iconic buildings in Singapore like the Marina Bay Sands and Gardens by the Bay. And so because of these rising sea levels, we have also come up with our newer reclamation projects have been built to be several meters above previous height standards. So in Singapore, there's a basic level height. You have to build your buildings at a certain height so that it's safe from flooding. So it's always being changed. So these long-term engineering projects will take decades and require continuous adaptation, but they're essential in protecting Singapore's coastline. So now next, Fahmi will be sharing about Singapore's cultural geography.
All right. Yeah, so basically why cultural geography is because we have the idea of multiculturalism in Singapore. And as what you've seen before, we have public housing, we have some of the cultural religious sites. So how all of these blends together is one of the big problems the government is facing, because there's a need for development and there's also a need to actually preserve some of these sites. So moving on, we okay, so why does preservation matters on a small island like Singapore? Because we're very culturally rich in a lot of things, be it culture, religion, food, whatever you name it, because we are sort of like a melting pot of different races. So because of the limited land size, it means that there's a lot of tension between development and heritage. So developers have to fight among each other to decide, should we preserve this site or should we, destroy it and have more further developments? So Singapore actually uses selective preservation, turning sites into cultural educational space, because there's also a need to educate future generations on what has happened before in Singapore. So for the next slide, these are some of the important districts or urban development that I would like to share with you guys in case you guys ever visit Singapore, these are some of the areas or actually tourist site that I would recommend you guys to go. So we start off with the key heritage site on the left side of the screen. We start with Kampong Glam. So Kampong Glam is actually sort of like a Malay Arab heritage, which also showcase early Muslim settlement in Singapore. Then below it is Little India, where we have labor, migration, geography, and cultural economy. You have a lot of spices, you have some of the banking trades there going on. So below beyond Chinatown, where you have Chinese dialect enclaves and clan associations. And there's quite a number of clans in Singapore where you can actually see the diverse set of uh, different Chinese dialects and whatnot. So for the next one will be the Fort Canning Civic District. So this is actually colonial and pre-colonial stratigraphic history. So there's actually a need to preserve some of these sites because it actually showcase some of the historic and also developments that happens back then in Singapore. And apart from key heritage districts, we also look into urban redevelopment. As you can see below, Tiong Bahru. Tiong Bahru is actually an art deco estate preserved with modern cafes. So if you're into sort of like the artistic side of Singapore, this would be one of the areas you would actually go to see. And next would be Gilman Barracks, which is also a artistic site where it is actually a former military site. So some of these actually showcase how Singapore actually revert some of these sites into future educational sites that can be used and also can be educated for future generations. And for the next slide, that's pretty much what we have for Singapore in these special sessions. And I hope you guys actually have a better understanding and grasp of what Singapore is. And thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much to the four presenters, Cody, Faith, Fami, and Wai Ching. And I hope everyone learned something from the Singapore students. And I was notified that there are four questions from the Korean students to the Singapore students. So can I invite the Singapore students to just kindly bring us through what are the questions and what are your answers to them?
Sure, no problem. I think the first and second questions are kind of related, so I might just want to talk about them at the same time. So the questions we received is about the apps that we use in Singapore. So for instance, in Korea, they use Instagram and TikTok. They wanted to know if Singapore had any different apps that we use for messaging, for social media, or for searching for information. And I think the answer to that is that Singaporeans do use Instagram and TikTok for social media as well, especially among our generation, the youths. However, if we do want to bring in older generation, we can always talk about Facebook as well. As for messaging apps, Singaporean youths like to use Telegram or WhatsApp. But I understand that in Korea, it's probably going to be Kakao Talk instead. So that will be about the messaging. Then as for other apps about like, let's say we want to search for information, Singaporeans, we do use Google as our main search engine. For Koreans, it will probably be Naver. And specifically for map searching, we will be using Google Maps or Apple Maps for those iPhone users. But Koreans, I understand that Naver Maps and Kakao Maps are usually more recommended for their streets and for their place for their map searching. Yeah, I think that's about it for the first and second question.
And can I invite the presenter for the third question?
Yep. So, the third question that we received was about what are considered the most popular or promising majors in terms of career paths right now among Singaporean students. Um, I would say, especially of us, are year four students now, the job market is not the most friendly. But in terms of majors that probably find it easier to find jobs today, I would say it's probably in the technology, computing, or data related fields, where you can find jobs as like software developers or analysts. And there are always sectors that will require people like healthcare sectors, they will always need nurses or doctors. So I would say those are the more in demand fields. Yep. Thanks.
And the fourth question.
Okay, so let me read out the fourth question. What kind of image does Korean culture have for Singaporean students? Do you see it as hip and trendy? Also, compared to Japanese culture like anime, which one feels more familiar or closer to your daily lives? Okay, so I'm only speaking from, personal experience and what I observed. But Korean culture does indeed have this hip and trendy image in Singapore. So, when we think of Korean culture here, I believe we think of K-pop and K-beauty. I think those are, very salient in our pop culture and like social media and also what we talk about. And there are also a lot of Korean establishments in terms of F&B in Singapore. So like virtually, every mall or every hawker center, even in food courts in school, there will always be a store selling Korean food. So yeah, we do see it as hip and trendy. And when we compare it to Japanese culture, I would say that both of them have an equally like significant reach in Singapore in students. So I would say like it's a very good mix, who likes Korean culture more, who likes Japanese culture more. Yeah. And there's also this like very interesting trend nowadays in Singapore whereby the other, major East Asian power, which is like China, right? It's slowly seeping into like our popular culture, being seen as cool and stuff. And then even in like shopping malls or our, even the shop houses, yeah, there are a lot of Chinese stores and F&Bs. So soft power in East Asia really does have quite a good grip on Singapore. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the insightful answers. And can I just bring to the attention, there's one question in the chat box from Aksu from Azerbaijan. So she says she really wants to visit Singapore one day, but knowing that there are a lot of laws, like the chewing gum ban, which is I'm sure everyone knows about this by now. So she's scared that she will break the law. So are there any life hacks or suggestions? Yeah, so any tips from our students?
Actually, just to jump in, actually, Singapore's okay, I'm not being patriotic or anything, but I think from an outsider's point of view of Singapore law can be very strict, and I'm not hinting for anything, but when you're in Singapore, I think the strictness don't really feel like it's suffocating because there's also a need to understand why these laws are in place, implemented in the first place. So for the chewing gum, there were a lot of ideas and reasons as to why. Firstly, it's majorly on the idea of cleanliness. So if you ever look in Singapore, some of the streets you walk or some of the chairs that you sit on, there's not really any chewing gum as compared to other countries. So basically, on that note, that's why the laws are in place. But there's a lot of other reasons. So the perspective or the idea is that Singapore is very scary. It's not really scary lah because the laws are just there to scare you at the start. But actually, when you think about it, when you're there, when you're here in Singapore, it's like, oh, actually, there's nothing lah. Yeah, it's fine. At the end of the day, I can just go about with with my own life. But the thing is, if you're gonna do it, just don't get caught. I think that's everywhere. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. I also think that it's like a really good thing to discipline the nation. So thank you very much for your answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So in the interest of time, I think that's the only question we can afford to take because it's really 9:28. Sorry, 10:28 KST. So okay, moving on to the final segment. Okay, and this is just a very sorry. Okay, let me put it up. This is just a very short reminder or announcement. So for future moderations, as you know, the previous ones was done by Grace from South Korea, October and November. And this month, December, is done by Singapore by me. And next month, it will be another location that will be decided. But I've heard that it might be Indonesia. And future participation in this role as a moderator is highly encouraged and guidance will be given. Yeah. Okay, so this is like a message from Center that I received. So he wants to say thank you to Grace for moderating the past two sessions and to George Mason University GG Club staff and students for your insights and support. So with love from Center. And so I know there's not enough time for this, but like if anyone has some Christmas well wishes to say to each other to make this a very nice and respectful and mutually supportive space, you are invited to do so in like 1 minute. Okay, yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Yes, Merry Christmas, everyone. Okay.
And a
Merry
Happy New
Christmas.
Year.
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas.
Yes.
Merry
Happy New
Christmas.
Year.
Merry
Yeah.
Christmas.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your
Merry Christmas.
participation.
Mutlu Noeller. Yeah.
You can teach us how to say Merry Christmas in your language as well. Yeah. Okay. So for this part, can I invite everyone to just take a photo? Uh, yeah, I'll be taking the photo, so you guys can just
What
turn
do you
on
mean? Like on our phones?
No. I'll be taking the screenshot of everyone.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Okay, beautiful. I'm seeing all your faces. Okay. Just a few more faces, please. I highly encourage everyone to bring a prop if you have.
It's too bright. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, you have your Marmite. Yeah, I'm gonna employ my friend. Okay, yes. Okay, in 3, 2, 1, smile.
Nice.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, thank you everyone for your participation. Just the final thing is a feedback survey, and that will be shared with you in the WhatsApp chat. Yeah, so okay, yeah, so this one. Yeah, thank you so much. You can scan this QR code and do it right now, or you can choose to do it later. So it's up to you. Yeah, so thank you for your participation today, and I hope you guys learned something from each other. And I hope to see you again in the future study schools. See you. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much for today. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you for hosting.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.